We all become very cognizant of Jack and his history, and when Alibaba went public with the largest IPO in history, we knew a lot more about him. So I want to talk about his personal story. I want to talk about how many times he tried and failed and what kept him going. I want to talk about where he is today and how he got there. I begin with the question through trash. Were you back at Davos? It's been a long break for 7 years. I think my last trip here was in year 2008, but I was coming for the years 2001 for a young global leader, and I think I remember I never heard about Davos when I came, but when I came into Switzerland, so many young people demonstrated. It was just a horrible skins, and I asked them, what are they doing? They said anti-globalization. And I said, why? Globalization is a great thing. Why people don't like it? And then we came all the way for 2 hours. There's a machine gun. There's a people checking us. Oh God, is this a film? Is a prison? What is that? But when I joined the forum at the Young Global Leader, I was thrilled by so many ideas. For the first 3 to 4 years, I learned what does globalization mean, what's the comparative citizenship mean, what's the social responsibility mean. All these new ideas, I saw so many great leaders talking about leadership, and I benefit a lot. In the year 2008 and 9, when the financial crisis came, I thought it's better to go back to work because we can never win the war by talking. So go back when spent 7 years. Now I came back. I think it's time to do something in return. I learned so much 12 years ago, so why should I not be talking to the young global leader of today, sharing with them how we've gone through? So the that's what the thing. Let's start with where you are today. Just how big is Alibaba? How many people come every day? How many people come in a week? How fast is it growing? Yes, we have over 100 million buyers visiting our sites, shop on our sites every day. And we created 100 million every day. We created 14 million jobs for China's directly and indirectly. And we grew from 18 people to 30,000. 18 people in my apartment to now we have 4 big campers. Compared to 15 years ago, we were big, but compared to 15 years later, we still a baby. How big will you be 15 years from now? I think 15 years ago, I told my team that 15 years in the past 15 years, we grew from nothing to this size. And 15 years later, I want people to see and know about Alibaba because it's already everywhere. I want 15 years ago when we talk about what is e-commerce, why small businesses can use this e-commerce use the internet, can do business across the nation. And I hope 15 years later, people forget about e-commerce because we think it's like electricity. Nobody thinks it is a high tech today. This is something that I don't want 15 years later. We still walk on the street talking about why and how e-commerce can help people. You try to get into 3 colleges. Each time they reject it. No, I tried. There is an examination that young people, if you want to go universities, you have to take the examinations. So I failed 3 times, but I failed at a lot of things. I failed for funny things. I failed a key primary school test 2 times, and I failed 3 times for the middle school. And you will never believe in Hangzhou, my city. There's only one middle school that lasts only 1 year. It was changed from primary school to middle school. I'll graduate of our school. No middle school accepted because we're too bad. It would become a middle school. What effect did it have to he talk being rejected? Well, I think we have to get used to it. We're not that good. Even today, we still have a lot of people reject us. I think when I graduate from universities and before, for 3 years, I try and fail to get into universities. So I applied to jobs for 30 times, got rejected. I went for police, they said no, you're not good. I went to KFC. When KFC came to China, came to my city, 24 people went for the job. 23 people were accepted. I was the only guy. And we went for police, 5 people. 4 of them accepted. I was only one guy. I was the only guy that never received it served to me. Being turned down, rejected. Oh, by the way, I told you that when I applied for Harvard, for 10 times rejected. I know I would be rejected. They're sorry now. 10 times. You wrote them and said, I like to come to Harvard. Yes. And then I told myself someday I should go teach there one day. I think that can be arranged. Richard Nixon came to Hangzhou, and after that, tourists fruit is the blade. And that's how you learn English. Yes, I really like. Yeah, I don't know why as 20, 13, 12, 13 years old. At that time, I suddenly fell in love with the language English. And there's no place you can learn English at that time. There's no book, English books. So I went to Hangzhou Hotel, now called Hangzhou Shangri-La Hotel, because that was the hotel that received the foreign visitors. So every morning for 9 years, I showed them around as a free guide, and they taught me English, and I think that changed me. Today, I'm 100% made in China. I never got one day's training outside of China. And when people talk to me and say, Jack, how can you speak English like that? Why do you sometimes talk like the Western guys? I think that's what the 9 years. These Western stories opened my mind because everything they told me was so different from the things I learned from school and from my parents. Sure, now I have a habit. Whatever I see, whatever read, I use my mind. Think about doing business. Is that how Majun became Jack Ma? Actually, Trash, the name was given by a lady in tennis. She is a tourist. She came here and she said, came to Hangzhou. We had a, we became pen friends. Majun is so difficult to pronounce. So she said, do you have an English name? I said, no. Can you give me an English name? She said, okay. She says, my father's called Jack, my husband called Jack. What do you think about Jack? I said, good. So I've been using that for many years. First visit to Americans, 1995. 1995. Yes, I came here for a project helping the local government to build up a highway. And you try the internet. I tried the internet in Seattle and in a building called in the US Bank. I don't know whether US Bank is still there or not, but it's a building. And my friend opened a small office which he liked, only 10% bigger than this room, and there's a lot of computer in there. And he said, Chase, this is internet. I asked, what is internet? He says, just whatever you want. At that time, they used message, very slow. And I said, I don't use it. I don't want to type because computers so expensive in China. If I destroy it, I cannot pay. He says, just search it. So I searched the first word, beer. I don't know why, because it's easy to spell. And I see beers from Germany, beers from the USA, beer from Japan. But there's no beer from China. And I say, okay, type the second word, China, no data, nothing, 1995, 1995, no data about China. So I talked to my friend. Why don't I make something about China? So we make a small very ugly looking page called China. It's about it's something like I did a translation agency and we list on there. It was so shocking. We launched at 9:40 in the morning. 12:30 I got a phone call from my friend who said, Jake, you got 5 emails. I said, what is email? And he says, these are the things. He said, people are so excited. Where are you? This is the first time I see a Chinese website on that. How can we? When can we do something together? So I think this is something interesting. So we should do it. Why did you call it Alibaba? Alibaba? Well, when I started, I think Internet Explorer. We should have a global name and a name that's interesting. Like, like at that time, the best name was Yahoo. So I've been thinking for many days, and suddenly Alibaba is a good name. So I happened to be in San Francisco that day, and I had lunch, and the waitress came. I asked her, "Do you know about Alibaba?" She says, "Yes." I said, "What is Alibaba?" She said, "Open Sesame." Good. So I ran down the street and asked 10, 20 people. They all know about Alibaba and the 40 Thieves and Open Sesame. And I think this is a good name. And it starts with A. Whatever you talk about, Alibaba's always on top. You have said before that in creating Alibaba, you had to create just because people in China we used to face. How did you create trust? I think because we started out doing business on the internet. I don't know you, you don't know me. So how can you do things online unless you have trust? So for e-commerce, the most important thing was trust. I think when I first went to the US for raising money, talked to the venture capitalists, a lot of people say, oh yes, no. China doing business via currency. How can you do business on the internet? And I know that without the trust of the system, the credit system, it's impossible to do business. So with in the past 14 years, everything we do is trying to build up the trust system, the record system. Well, Charles, you know, I'm so proud today. Today in China and in the world, in China and in the world, people don't trust each other. The government and people and media and everybody thinks, oh, this guy cheating. But because of e-commerce, we finish 60 million transactions every day. People don't know each other. I don't know you. I send product to you. You don't know me. You write the money to me. And I don't know you. I give a person a package. I don't know him. He took something to sell across the ocean, across the river, and this is the trust. We have at least this 60 million trust happening every day. But you create it is by creating an escrow account in the beginning. you know, and so you keep the money until they got the product.